a shout out to Johnny. Elway, he important, man. He the reason that I'm always rocking noise, man. Always gotta rock orange, man. I'm rocking orange, man. Always gotta rock orange, that's just how I roll. I'm rocking orange, man. Word up. I'll be rocking with the Broncos. I'm rocking orange, man. Always gotta rock orange, that's just how I roll. I'm rocking orange, man. You see it? I'll be rocking with the Broncos. I've been rocking orange since an early age. Now since 9-7, I ain't miss a game. Came up with TD and Rod Smith. I was riding with the team when they got the chip. Before the Chevrolets and the Lobster. I remember Elway's helicopter. I'm telling you, that man was a monster. Way before he had his hands on the roster. He turned the Broncos to a powerhouse. So you know I got a shout out to Johnny. Elway, he important, man. He the reason that I'm always rocking orange, man. Always gotta rock orange, man. I'm rocking orange, man. Always gotta rock orange, that's just how I roll. I'm rocking orange, man. Word up. I'll be rocking with the Broncos. I'm rocking orange, man.
What's up, Broncos Country? Kev Dan here for an episode of Halftime Hash / day after game review of the Broncos versus LA Rams game. Unfortunately, we were not able to do the Halftime Hash show last night due to, us drafting and people being busy. So, wanted to make sure that we got a show for you guys and just kept that continuity going because I'm sure you guys have plenty of questions. So please start posting comments and questions, and we can start talking about what questions you have and whatever you thought about the game last night if you guys saw it. So I started watching this morning, just kind of going over some game film and just seeing how we did. First thing, I think some good things going. Obviously, I think Muhammad, the running back, who's probably going to be our practice squad running back, he's looking pretty good. He's making some good moves and everything like that. Valentino, how you doing? Glad to see you guys here this Sunday. So there are some good things going there. Quarterback-wise, as a backup, we're going to be missing Drew Lock. I really think if at the end of the day, if something happens, knock on wood, somebody please knock on wood, if Flacco goes down for whatever reason, for any amount of time, we are going to be hurting big time. So let's hope that just doesn't happen. But both Kevin Hogan and Rypien are just not there. Now, obviously, they're going to use the last preseason game to really decide on who's going to get that backup job. I think it's going to be Kevin Hogan, but I wouldn't mind to see, what quarterbacks are available out there that some team might be willing to, or just on the waiver wire. It's kind of late for that, but in terms of talking about the waiver wire, Bless, how you doing, man? Glad to see you back as well. Like I said, start posting some comments and questions, guys. Hit that share button for me, and we'll get a little bit of conversation going. And we'll save the majority of it for our Tuesday night show, Beer Broncos and No BS. But quarterback-wise, it's just hurting. But if we want to go out there and look at the waiver wire, just see who's available whatsoever, punter, and trying to find somebody who can maybe return some punts. I mean, I wish we had done this after the second preseason game. It's pretty obvious that we just do not have anyone that's even close to being solid at punt returns or kick returns or anything like that. So that's something we really could go out and try to find somebody. I really do not want a starter back there. There is a good argument that Emmanuel Sanders going back there to return kicks and punts. This is the last year of his contract anyway. And to be honest, guys, this is probably going to be the last year that Emmanuel Sanders is with the Broncos. He's getting a little bit older. And just because he's that number one wide receiver who does a ton of stuff for us, he's going to be demanding a lot of money. And I don't think the Broncos are going to be willing to pay what he's asking. Now, hopefully, there is the chance that, hey, Patrick, how you doing? I'm hoping that Emmanuel Sanders maybe takes a home team or hometown discount and really just tries to stay with the team and make it a little easier for us. But that, I don't know. It's going to be tough to see what they do with Emmanuel Sanders. Now, we have plenty of, the new wide receivers we have. I think we're good with the depth there. So if we lose them, it's not going to be anything terrible. We're still going to have a pretty young wide receiver core. but over the following year or two, they're just going to get better and better, and we're just hopefully they're not going to get too expensive anytime soon. So just keep that in mind. I think when Coach Fangio says that we're going to be using starters for punt returns, kick returns, he's not kidding about that. That's not. We're going to try and see what happens. But game one against the Raiders on Monday night on September 9th, Emmanuel Sanders is probably going to be the guy that's back there returning punts. If you ask me, even Booker isn't. I don't even want Booker back there to begin with. I mean, the first punt that he tried to return, I think it was maybe the kickoff even, he just drops right on the ground. So I'm not liking that. Hey guys, my name's Kev Dan. I'm doing the halftime hash / day after review of the Denver versus LA Rams game. I know the title might say different. I missed that. I'm not used to doing this on Sundays, I guess, or something. But please post your comments, questions, anything any concerns you have about the Broncos going into the regular season. We do have one more preseason game left this Thursday night. It's going to give them 10, 11 days or so to really prep for the Raiders game on Monday Night Football. It's a very late game. At least for us here in Central Time, and if you're on the East Coast, it's going to be, I think, a 10:30 p.m. start time. So something to watch out for. But we are starting on the road. It's the first time that's happened in a long time, and we're playing the Raiders. So Coach Fangio made a very interesting call to sit the starters for the rest of the preseason. Could be a good idea. Could also just come back to, I don't know, if there's anything. If I'd like to have seen anything, it was Garrett Bowles out there, because I think Garrett Bowles is definitely the guy who needs to be getting as many reps as he possibly can. I still think that left side, even if we put Elijah Wilkinson back there, it's going to be tough to keep that left side strong, and that's Joe Flacco's blind side. And like I said, if he goes down, I don't know how that's going to turn out, but I really need to see. I really wish on this last preseason game that Garrett Bowles is the one out there getting some sort of reps, at least for the first quarter, first half, first two drives. I don't care. Got a couple questions here. Bless, do you think letting Cody Latimer go was a good idea, especially with Sanders leaving next year? I don't mind that decision, again, because we have plenty of depth at the wide receiver core. I mean, between Cortland Sutton, River Craycraft is looking good. We have Deshaun Hamilton there at the back. Probably wide receiver 4, I'm thinking. We'll have to see with that. I don't know if I have the depth chart still pulled up. The most recent one anyway. I do. Let's see. For the Broncos, they're currently listing wide receiver 3 as Deshaun Hamilton. 2 is Cortland Sutton. And I'm thinking I would really like to see Tim Patrick. But it's probably going to be River Craycraft, I'm thinking, as our wide receiver 4. So, leaving or letting Cody Latimer go, the only thing that might be hurting is our special teams. But in general, our special teams, it's not just the punt and kick returner. The punter, us making those blocks to get the returner any sort of movement, the decision that the kick returner and the punt returner are making, trying to catch these things. I know they're trying to maybe make a name for themselves, but even Chris Harris Jr., I think earlier last week, was talking about how, for the new young guys, the people who are trying to make the team, that's the way to start out. Got to remember, Chris Harris was undrafted, and one of the first things he did was he was a returner for the team that signed. I can't remember what team it was, but he was the returner. This is the thing that these guys need to do to stand out, and none of them have been standing out whatsoever. Let's see. Valentino says Jake was making some catches, and will he continue to show up? Yes, probably in a limited fashion, but he did make a couple really good catches from what I saw this morning when I went back and I watched it. We need him though, because we are hurting in the tight ends area in the tight end room. So looking at this, Jake Butt, dude, we need him. Noah Fant is obviously going to be the number one wide receiver, but with Noah Fant and let's see, Fumagalli, Hireman's hurt for a while. We definitely need Jake Butt to go out there and be able to make some plays. Now, if Jake Butt goes down and hurts his ACL again, he's done in the NFL. I guarantee it. The fact he's out there after a third ACL tear that's impressive, because we saw what Drew Lock did, and not Drew Lock. I'm sorry, Andrew Luck, similar names, and retired just last night, basically during the game. I don't know how it came out, but during the Colts game, that happened. I'm not even going to talk about how I can't believe that Colts fans were booing him as he got off the field. But anyway, so tight end room, yeah, that's we need Jake Butt to keep showing up and doing something productive on the tight end side, because otherwise we are, I don't want to say we're screwed in the tight end area, but we're hurting for sure. Noah Fant has really got to step up too. He has really got to find a way to be that tight end one that we need him to be come game one. And I don't think that's too far, or that's too much to ask of him, but hopefully he has that in mind. Let's see. Derek asks, will T. Davis be ready week one? I don't see why he wouldn't be, especially since we're starting our sitting our starters. I don't see why he wouldn't be ready to go by week one. But all these guys, I mean, the one thing I got from looking at the film was when it comes to our depth, we're not that strong. There's a couple really good players, like Muhammad, for instance, but you're seeing how we're kind of getting pushed around the field. I mean, the left side, the offensive line, they're doing okay. But in general, if we lose a couple other key pieces on offense, I don't know. It's going to be really hard to put a very decent team on the field, especially with you looking at how tough the first quarter of the season is going to be. Raiders may seem like a shoo-in for a win, but it's week one football, guys. We're on the road. Anything can happen week one, and it's just crazy football. So the good thing is we have a pretty solid defense right now, but we cannot afford to lose anyone, and that's something to watch for. Valentino, I noticed Miller is still running past running backs. Yeah, I don't know. Miller. You're not talking about Von Miller. Which Miller? Sorry, there's still a lot of players on the step chart, and I'm trying to get a hold of. So tell me which Miller you're looking for there, Valentino, and I'll give you some thoughts. Keep post those comments, questions, guys. My name's Kev Dan. I appreciate you watching the day after halftime hash, if you will. Like I said, I just want to keep the show going because you guys deserve it, and that's what we do here. So, defense looks okay on the depth. Offense, not so much. You saw us move the ball. If you did watch the game, we were able to move the ball somewhat. The first couple drives, it's probably about the third drive our offense kind of really started going. But again, got to the red zone, completely stalled out over and over again. That's why we're only able to settle for those 3 field goals and allowed the Rams to do their thing. Guys, it's preseason football. But if we can hold a team to 10 to 16 points a game, then it's setting our offense up for winning. Look, we can settle for field goals. We need, ideally, at least 2 touchdowns a game. And I can look up later. Von Miller, I don't know. I think Von Miller's running past those running backs. Preseason guys are not trying to play full strength, especially with the number of injuries we had. I think all the defense, all the starters are going to really ramp it up to the next level once the regular season starts. It's the best thing I can answer that. But that's something we can talk about on our Tuesday night show, Beer Broncos No BS, at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. So watch out for that, guys. 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. my time, all that stuff. Plus says, do you think Andy Janovich will play a bigger part in the offense? The guy is a beast. Yeah, I completely think he is once he comes back, to be honest with you. Again, the tight end area is hurting. So, once we get those guys back, especially Janovich, we're going to be okay there. This team, I really think with the injuries we have, we're going to be looking like a different team come week 6 to week 8 once we start getting Theo Riddick back, and some of these other key players that have gone down. Drew Lock, I mean, it's going to make us feel a lot better once Drew Lock is sitting there ready to go in at any time. With it just being a finger injury, hopefully, he can start getting at least some sort of reps before too long, and just kind of keep improving on what we've already seen him improve on. I mean, every preseason game has been better. One of the good things, talking about injuries, we had no injuries this preseason game, which is the first preseason game, at least yet, where we haven't had some sort of, I won't say major injury, but an impact injury to what we're going to be seeing. So, let's see. Michael, how you doing? Who is starting quarterback? It's going to be Flacco, man. Flacco is going to be the starting quarterback, period, dot, the end. At least for this year. Now, there's that conversation of, well, what if the Broncos are doing really poorly? Well, then in that case, okay, let's throw Drew Lock in there. The week 10 bye we have is probably the best time to make that change if we're going to. Let's say for some reason we find ourselves at week 10 being 4-6, okay, or 3-7, which I really don't think is going to happen to this team. But if we're in that position, sure, we're not even close to being a competitive team for a playoff spot. And at that point, let's see what the kid can do. Get him some real in-game experience. Now, that's not to say that if we're in that position of 4-6 or 4-6 or 5-5 or whatever, even 5-5 halfway through the season, okay, we can get it back after week 10 and start maybe winning some more games after that. We could be in the talk for a wild card slot. We're not completely out of the race there. So unless we're below 500 our bye week, then Flacco's going to be the starter. And even like I said, if we're in that position, it's not to say that it's Flacco's fault. It could be any number of things: injuries, just poor play by the defense. They're not as good as we thought. They're letting opposing teams rack up those yards against us and those points against us. I mean, it could be a number of things going on that would put us in that situation. So, not to say that it's going to be Flacco's fault, purely Flacco's fault, if we're in that position. Flacco's going to be that game manager. We need the defense to put us in a position where our offense can just get some points. I mean, if we can get 21 points a game on average, somewhere around there, we're going to be in every single game. We're going to be in a fight for it, because I really think this defense, with Vic Fangio calling the defensive plays, we're going to be looking good. So it's going to be interesting to see what we do. Yeah, Michael, I'm excited to see what Flacco can do. I think he's really trying to make a name for himself and kind of rebound after the Ravens let him go. He knows he's a Super Bowl MVP quarterback. He's won the Super Bowl. He's done really well out in Baltimore until those injuries. So as long as he stays healthy and we keep a solid, or at least as good of an offense as we do right now, we're going to be able to get to the red zone every time, or at least the majority of the time. We're not going to see the number of interceptions thrown that we saw over the last 2 years. It's going to be a little smoother offense. And really, that's kind of what hurt us those last couple of years, is the very young, inexperienced quarterbacks we have back there not being able to make the reads, not going to be able to make those passes that we need on third down. I mean, how many times over the last 2 years did we see a 3rd and 10 situation or 3rd and 7 situation, and the quarterback, whoever is back there at that time, throws for like a 2-3 yard dump off pass? Okay, what we've seen from Flacco already is we're going to throw past the chains. We're going to do something to make that first down at least possible. But when you're just always doing that, just drop off pass or whatever, that check down, look, the odds of you making that first down after a 3rd and long are very slim. So I like the fact that we got Flacco. He's the first competitive NFL quarterback we've had since Peyton Manning left. Not to say he's anything like Peyton Manning, because we know he's not. Nobody is. But he's the most solid quarterback we've had over the last 2 years. And how many quarterbacks have we had over the last 2 years? So something to watch. Who are the top linebackers? That's a good question. Let's see. Bless says, I really believe that Drew Lock is a hidden gem. Completely agree. I'm really excited to see what Drew Lock can be next year. Next year during preseason, we're going to have a quarterback battle on our hands. Going to kind of tie into how well Flacco does this year and what our record is. If we do really well this year, we get in the playoffs, I would expect that Drew Lock sits and kind of gains more experience and just cleans up his play a little bit more for a second season. I do not see us keeping Flacco past his 2-year contract, especially with Drew Lock. I'm especially excited about Drew Lock, what he's going to even look like next year, because we've already seen how much he's improved over these preseason games to date. So let's get back to this question. Who are the top linebackers? Well, obviously, we got Bradley Chubb, Von Miller. Let's see. Josie Jewell's always a name. I mean, when he comes back. Todd Davis will be good. Trying to think. Malik Reed, I think he's probably going to be gone. I don't think he's going to make the roster. Aaron Wallace is going to be gone. Dakota Watson kind of has a chance, possibly. Let's see. Who else we got linebacker-wise? I think those are some of the big names, guys. I think we're really set at linebacker, especially, I mean, with Von Miller, Bradley Chubb back there, Todd Davis. Like I said, um, let's see, what else was I thinking? Yeah, I mean, we got options. I don't think our linebacker core is going to be an issue, but God forbid, please somebody knock on wood or something right now. If one of those main guys goes down, now we're going to have a problem because part of the linebacker uh, strengths we have is that Bradley Chubb Von Miller partnership. It's going to be something that teams have to watch out for on both sides. Remember how awesome it was to have Miller and Ware on both sides? I mean, it destroyed quarterbacks. It destroyed teams' chances of winning games. And that's what we're going to have this year. As long as those two guys stay healthy, knock on wood, somebody right now, we're going to be doing okay. Okay. I like Brett Rypien play. Yeah, he was looking okay. I think he went 5 for 5 initially, and then when he tried to go in that touchdown pass, and I think it was like 3rd and 10 from the 20, overthrew it. So he's still really inexperienced. I do like him. I could see him being quarterback 3 next year. Kevin Hogan is going to be gone next year. I think he has some more experience, but I think Rypien and Kevin Hogan are very similar right now. But if Rypien keeps improving, just like we know Drew Lock is going to be, heck, in 2 years it could be Drew Lock's a starter and Rypien's a backup. So it'll be interesting to see how Rypien keeps improving as well. Let's see, Valentino playing time at QB and seems to be we just need to be patient with those guys. Keith, how you doing? He says Justin Hollins looks pretty good last night. Yeah, there were some hidden gems last night. If you kind of, like I said, I went back and watched, especially Justin Hollins on the linebacker core. I definitely think I think he has a solid chance of making that team. The thing you got to remember, guys, when we're cutting down to 53 is we're going to have some situations where we might have to hold a roster spot for someone instead of putting them on IR. I don't see us. We could put Drew Lock on IR, and that opens up a roster spot for somebody, at least for the first half of the season. We expect Drew Lock to come back halfway through the season, but we could just decide to, carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster and then just obviously not have Drew Lock suit up every week. But then we also got Theo Riddick. What are we going to do with him? We have Andy Janovich. What are we going to do with him? Because we only have 53 roster spots, and now if we keep 3 extra players just because we're afraid of putting them on IR and we want them back as soon as possible, well, now we really only have a 50-man roster. And that's going to hurt our depth somewhere. Somewhere that's going to hurt. So I don't know what the team is going to do. It's going to be really interesting to watch after that final preseason game and we start making those decisions before the roster date where we have to get 53 men on that roster. And just be surprised, guys. There's probably going to be, I think, at least one surprise cut somewhere because we are carrying somebody else. I mean, Stuart Cravens could be the guy, especially with, having attitude issues last year. We saw how vocal he was about, talking back to Vance Joseph, if you will, over Twitter. And even Bradley Chubb kind of confirmed that there are people who had rebellious attitudes, is what he said, towards coaches last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how they did last year might come into play. I don't know, guys. That's a good conversation for Tuesday night when we get somebody else on here to share some opinions. Let's see. Josh says, I thought Locke was improving each week. Lexi got hurt and couldn't play the last 2 preseason games. Yeah, 100%. Drew Lock, like I said, is going to be in the battle for QB1 next year. And it's really going to depend on how we do this year. If we get a playoff spot, I would expect that Flacco is going to be our quarterback next year because he gives us the best shot to stay consistent without having to start somebody new. It gives Drew Lock a whole nother year to keep improving and keep getting that experience. And then, after 2 years, the next 2 seasons, then Drew Lock can step up and take that starting spot. So this year's going to be interesting with Drew Lock, especially once he comes back halfway through the season. We see how we're looking halfway through the season, and we'll take it from there. Michael, you're from Arkansas? Awesome. I am stationed down here in Florida right now, so I know it sucks not being in Colorado. Tell Matt Russell hello for me, please. I will try. And he saw Locke play, and he's really good. Completely agree. Let him learn under Flacco for a while. And who is this year's kicker? It's going to be McManus is the kicker. But for the punter, if the Broncos don't go out and sign a punter this year or this week, I'm going to be disappointed personally. I just think that, especially after Wadman is not doing well. I like Wadman. I love his story. He's delivering pizzas one day. The next day, he's practicing with the Broncos and our number one punter. It's a fantastic story, but Wadman is not a consistent punter. He had a 20-yard punt last night, and he's okay in Denver because of the altitude, but you get him in a lower altitude setting, a sea level setting, and now it's not nearly as good. So what would it hurt? We go out and get another punter. We see how he does in the last preseason game, how he does in practice. I don't see us getting anybody worse than Wadman right now. If we find somebody who's a little more consistent, then great. We have a new punter. But I'd like to see us go get another punter. I really wish, before we decided we were going to use starters for kick and punt returners, we'd gone out, gotten a couple people fresh off the street who are just waiting for a team to pick them up and see how they did trying to make that team. Because when it comes to some of this depth, there's just not anyone who's making a name for themselves in the special teams area, and it sucks to see. So I don't know. Shelby Harris looks really good in the San Francisco preseason game. I felt that he was everywhere. Chubb, Miller, let's see, Wolf are going to be nasty. It's going to be a nasty front. Completely agree. I'd like to see Shelby Harris be a little more consistent. Look, when he's on his game, he is on his game, and I love seeing that stuff from him. I mean, the game against Pittsburgh last year, I mean, there were some big key plays, but that one at the end with Shelby Harris blocking that pass, I mean, and then we saw him do it a couple times in the San Francisco game. I mean, that was fantastic to see. Hopefully builds up some confidence on what we can expect from him. We just need him to be consistent, but even when he's not like 110% like we've seen him sometimes, when he's not that absolute 100% guy, he's still solid. So I really do think that defensive front, then you put Bradley Chubb on the one side, Von Miller on the other side. We got a solid backfield. Our defense is going to be pretty stout. We got Vic Fangio, who built Chicago into a great defensive team on the plays. The defense is going to be what gives us a chance to win every game. We need the offense to not turn over the ball, move the ball, and get ideally 2 touchdowns a game. If we can average 2 touchdowns a game, get in field goal range pretty much on every drive, I'd like to see more than 2 touchdowns a game, but the defense is going to look stout. If they can keep that score down from the opposing team, we're going to have a chance to win pretty much every single game. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. One thing that I don't like seeing from at least the backups is when we have a chance to sack a quarterback, they miss. They dive too soon. That quarterback scrambles away and gets a pass off. The reason that worries me is because we play Kansas City twice this year, obviously. And we saw what Patrick Mahomes can do if you don't absolutely sack him. If you give him any amount of time to scramble, take those 2 extra steps, he's going to get that fancy no-look pass off. He's going to make something happen with Travis Kelce. I mean, it's going to be there. So we have got to make sure that when we are trying to tackle the quarterback, when we're trying to sack the quarterback, we get to him fast, we get to him hard. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Let's see. Mike says who's going to be the wide receivers. I think we got some obvious ones right there. I'll go through this and kind of let you know. We're going to talk more about our expected what we're going to think each position is going to look like later this week. Let's see. River Cratecraft has a chance maybe on special teams. Deshaun Hamilton is listed as our wide receiver 3 right now. Obviously, Cortland Sutton and Emmanuel Sanders. I'd like to see Tim Patrick. He has some skill there. I've liked what I've seen from him in the last year, especially. Juan Winfrey, he looked pretty good last night. He made some good catches, but on special teams he didn't. Don't know what to tell you there. So we got a solid 3. What we're really looking for is that 4th one, and then maybe if we have the roster spot available, 1 more. And I'd like to see, like I said, Tim Patrick. If we're gonna name a wide receiver 4, I'd like to see Tim Patrick, and then maybe Juwan Winfrey as the depth guy. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Can we get out Garrett Holds? Yes. Look, we don't have anyone to really replace him right now. We do have Elijah. We have Wilkinson, but he's not any better than Garrett Holds. That's again why I'd like to see Garrett Holds. I just say it automatically now. Garrett Bowles, Garrett Holds, Gumballs, whatever you want to call him. Getting him more reps during the preseason because he absolutely needs it. Derek says Flacco just needs to manage the game. Completely agree. We don't need him to make too many fancy plays. We're going to be a run-first offense. Really try to grind out the other team, tire them out. It's going to help in Denver early on in the season, right? Just be smart with the football. I mean, manage the game and then not turn over the ball. I mean, nearly as many times as we saw last year, the last 2 years. Let's see. How do the backs catch? If you're talking about the running backs, they're going to be a lot more active in the passing game this year. I mean, we've seen it already in the preseason game, so it's going to be interesting to see how they go back there and just how they integrate the running backs more into the passing game. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up. It was a nice, let's see. Now, we're going to be going 30 minutes, so about twice what we do for a normal halftime hash. Remember, guys, we will be doing our Beer Broncos No BS show Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. We also got, we're going to start our podcast up before too long, and we will do a halftime hash every week. I don't foresee us missing another week like we did last night, but we will always be doing a halftime hash, even if we do have to do it the next day for some reason. So we'll be there for you guys. Keep checking us out. If you can, give us a rate on Facebook. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at Orange Weekly. We also have our Patreon set up. You guys have been fantastic. This is our third year doing this. We absolutely love you guys. That's why we do this show, right? If you want to go support us on Patreon, we'd really appreciate. We are giving away some monthly prizes. We're also working on coming up with some exclusive content that you're only going to see on Patreon if you become a supporter. So right now we have only one Patreon, who is obviously going to be the person who wins win the monthly prize this month. So if you want to give them some competition, you're going to get chances to enter even if you donate $1 a month. We'd appreciate any kind of support you guys throw our way. Michael, great talking to you. You guys have been fantastic. We will see you Tuesday night and talk some more Broncos football as we get closer and closer to the start of the season and Raiders week for that September 9th game. So that being said, we'll catch you guys later. You guys have a good rest of your Sunday. And of course, as always, go Broncos. Take care, guys.